mem, the mem stuma. So just to bring us back into context of what it is that we're discussing in terms of the otiot sofiot, the manspach or the mansepach. There are certain letters in the Hebrew alphabet that they have a unique form when they come at the end of the word. And as we discussed in the introductory class on Taman Tzapach, and also in the context of Os Chaf, that these letters have a redeemed form to them, that they are slightly, let's say, tweaking or modifying the primary significance of the letter and bringing it into the context of a redeemed or more elevated or more refined form. So it's not of that particular letter, right? It's not negating that original theme, but it's doing it slightly in order to bring it up to a more nobilized and refined form. With that, we'll jump into the mem stuma. So before we jump into the mem stuma, we need to do a second introduction, which is the primary form of the mem. So as we've discussed throughout the progression of the letters, when we talk about the different forms that the letters take, and there's times that Rav Kook has made this explicit, there are certain letters that the theme of the letter is more klali, is more general. It's the theme of communion. It's the theme of integration. It's the theme of togetherness. And there are some letters that the theme is more individualistic. It's independence. It's not being dependent on others. It's developing a sense of self. So the mem is certainly a letter that is very much in the klali, communal togetherness vibe, as opposed to the nun, which comes right after it, which we will do in a moment, which is going back, shifting back. The pendulum shifts back, so to speak, to go and speak about more of an independent and individualistic idea. So the mem, the theme of the mem, that again, the primary theme of the mem in its regular form is how Rav Kook puts it, mayim. It's the theme of waterness. Water being this very flowing integration type of thing. I forget if we said this in our original class on mem, but it's not a coincidence that water is the universal solvent, the thing that brings everything together. That eventually everything will come back to a state of water, right? So the very theme of water, as such, it's the idea of bringing everything together. And as we emphasized, it's not bringing everything together that, oh, I had 5 disparate things and now all those 5 things are now together. So no, it's not that. It's the space between the parts. It's not any one particular part or any one particular entity, but rather it's the very fact, this very attribute that things are able to come together. That is an attribute in and of itself. So the mayim is not any particular nakudo or even a group of nakudot together. It's the very fact that things are able to be together. That concept, that energy is called mayim. It's interesting. I'm reading now a sefer by Rav Sadia Gaon, and he actually calls the ot mem mayim. He spells it mem yud mem. It's interesting. So It seems there seems to be, and it's not just once or twice. He constantly refers to the letter mem with that spelling. So it's not stam that the ot mem contains within it this theme of the waterness. So with that, we can go now finally to the mem stuma. So okay, so if the primary understanding or theme embodiment of the os mem is the flowing wateriness that is able to seamlessly integrate between things. I think the last time we gave just one more note, right? We talked about how there's how this manifests itself with different micro movements that you need to bring all of those movements together in order to express some type of form, some type of integrated form. Right? You break the parts down, you practice each part, and then you bring all those parts together, and they can become a seamless whole. Right? So if that's the theme of the mem, then what's the mem stuma? So it says Rav Kook, Hama'amar HaMavuta, the articulated word, Yesod HaMifal VaHachayim, which is the foundations of action and life, Hamidgalim B'Toar HaMem HaPtucha, which are revealed in the form of the open mem, like the regular mem, which are the expressions of water that is flowing, shotef, Bihimazgam in their integration. We talked about last time that the idea of mezeg, and certainly in the lashon of Chazal, mezeg is like when you take wine that needs to be watered a little bit because the wine itself is very strong. So it's called limzog et hamayim. Excuse me. Right. So when you take wine and add water to it, so the two things they integrate. Right. They're now one. So that's the idea of bihimazgam. Ba'aklam et hapratiut. So bringing in all together the disparate finite parts. That's the primary theme of Mem. Hama'avim et kol l'chlala mumchea harehi megale b'kocho et hakoach hasatum shebiyesod hama'amar. This also reveals the power of closedness, which is at the foundations of the utterance or of speech. Et shlilat ha'akara shebiyesod habitoy. The negation of consciousness, or the negation of understanding, perhaps, that's probably a little bit more accurate, the negation of understanding, which is at the foundations of expression. We'll say that one more time. The negation of understanding, which is at the foundation of expression. Et ha'ta'aluma shel ha'akara, the closing off, or the unknown of awareness. Ta'aluma shel ha'akara, it's great. It's almost like an oxymoron, right? The lack of understanding, which is contained within awareness. Hama'amar hapatuach, the open statement, which is embodied in the mem, the regular mem, whom yusad aleim b'tzurato hamitgaleh, is founded in the revealed form, b'tzurato hamitgaleh, the revealed form of the mem. Mem stuma ma'amar satum. In contrast, the closed mem is the closed speech. The closed mem is the closed speech. So there's the open speech, which is embodied in the regular mem, and then there's the closed speech, which is embodied in the closed mem. So let's unpack this a little bit. This, which is contained, which is in the mem, which is the base in holistic elements. So there's a flow and a movement, which is megale, it reveals. The last time we gave the example of like a piano player, there's 88 disparate keys on this thing. They all look exactly the same, but somehow the expert piano player is able to seamlessly flow through the different thing, and there's no individual key. You can't even hear the individual key. In fact, if you pay attention to the individual notes, you're not getting the experience. The experience is the flow between the keys. Which is this is a very, very revealed thing, in that it is communicating something. And in the context of the ma'amar, as Rav Kook is expressing, the ma'amar is communicating awareness, communicating knowledge. I have a thought in my head. I have an experience in the inner recesses of my being. The ma'amar is giving that out. It's expressing it. The ma'amar hamegaleh, it's revealing. However, there is also an element of stima, of closeness, which is contained in the ma'amar. And this is alluding to the idea that is referred to in the Kabbalistic jargon as the chachma stuma, the wisdom that is closed off. We talked about this in other discussions. I think we put a section from Sefer Eov and Sefer Koheles that has similar themes. That there's an idea that wisdom, chachma, comes from a dimension called ayin, referred to the nameless place. It's something that is fundamentally beyond grasp. The chachma stima is the awareness that I've come to the edge of my capability to grasp. That's chachma stima. It's that awareness. And this is what Rav Kook puts so poetically, the ta'aluma, the closed off, the unawareness, shel ha'akara, which is contained within awareness. Meaning, my awareness is allowing me to know that this is the edge of my awareness. That's the mem stuma, the mem stuma. And contained within speech, contained within the ma'amar, are these two forces. One force is the megaleh. It's the revealer, meaning I'm communicating information and it is understood and the other person is getting me. However, there's the other aspect of the satum, which is in the course of me speaking, in the course of me expressing and communicating and revealing the content within me, I'm also reaching the edge of my awareness. I'm reaching the edge of my awareness. And that's becoming more and more apparent. That's the paradox. It's becoming more and more apparent that I'm at the edge of my capacity the more I speak. The more I reveal, I'm coming aware of the fact that I'm reaching the edge. And we made a distinction before that there's two types of edge of like there's there's two forms of the limits of our intellectual capacity. One is intellectual capacity that could be measured, let's say, in IQ, right? Like it's like I think Ephraim gave the example of it's the difference between not being able to understand the Gemara and not being able to understand the pasuk, right? When a person goes to try to understand a Gemara or anything else that has a level of complexity to it, so it can take a person time to understand the thing, but it's not because the thing is fundamentally not able to be understood. It's just because it's very complex. So it's like doing, complex math problems in your head. It's not that you can't do the math problem. It's just that it's a lot of numbers to hold in your head. So it takes you a while to do it. So depending on the person's mental capacity, it takes them a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. Right? That's just complexity. That's different. Now, right? There are some things that most people, they're so complex they can't grasp, and their ability to grasp things is just because it's so complex, so it's beyond them. But there's another type of limits to our awareness, and that there's a depth to the very concept itself, which is inaccessible, and that can be fixed, or that can be we can reach and strive for that through refinement and spiritual maturity. The concept is so deep. There's so much richness and wisdom in there that it can't yet be grasped, and that's the chachma stima. That's the wisdom that's closed off. The mem stuma, the closedness contained within the statement. That's what that's referring to. It's saying that we've reached the edge of our gilui, of our revealed state, so to speak, and it's taken us to the edge. It's taken us to the edge. We spoke about how to integrate this in a practical sense. This is right. This may sound nice. I hope it sounds nice, but to integrate it and to practice it in an educational setting, perhaps, or even in just like mundane communication, to be able to act this out and take this lesson in an applicable way when we're speaking things out, to make it explicit that there is more that can be said about what we're talking about. Meaning the person gives over their information, gives over what they know about the thing, but makes it clear that this is just we're at a certain point in the journey. We're not saying everything there is to know about this thing. We're progressing and we're holding here in the journey, but there's more that can be said. Right? I think we gave over the story of Moshe Feinstein's Zatzal, that when he died in 1984, when people were cleaning out his office, they found his pinkasim, his journals, and they were all in the middle of a thought. Every single one of his journals, they were in the middle of a topic. They weren't finished. It's not like they found finished journals ready to be published. They were all in the middle of something, because that's where Moshe was. Wherever he happened to be, it was just at a particular point in the journey. It wasn't that he was looking to finish something and reach the completion. Right? There's the Ma'amar that is revealed, right, which is all of the Svarim that Moshe was able to produce during his lifetime. But there's also the Ma'amar Satum, in the sense that wherever he happens to be at that point in the timeline, it's at the edge. It's at the edge of what he's able to understand at that point. Yeah. This is the same idea that our ma'amar, our speech and our communication in general, should be migaleh, the mem ptucha, the open mem, which is revealing, but at the same time, it is pushing us up against the edge of our capacity, inviting us to go beyond. That's the mem stuma, and that's the refined, geula-oriented mem, which is bringing us to the point that we understand, we're aware of the ta'aluma shebetocha akara, the hiddenness which is brought about by awareness. The hiddenness which is brought about by awareness.
Is it what we were saying beforehand in a couple, I can't remember exactly when, but we were saying that there are things that we can learn and achieve on our own, and then there's things that are simply given to us. So if we get to a certain point and we push ourselves up to a degree or past that degree, then we're merited to be given something. Is this the beyond, or is this something?
I think the ideas are similar. I don't know if it's exactly the same idea. I think what you're referring to when we were talking about we mentioned the attribute of kedusha that the Ramchal talks about at the end of Mesilat Yesharim, that it's given to someone as a gift, right? So there are things like that, right? There are certain states that, because they have a supernatural aspect to them, like the attribute of kedusha. The attribute of kedusha is to take something that is fundamentally mundane and make it not mundane anymore. That's not a natural thing. So that's something that's given to a person as a free gift after they've achieved a certain level. I think that it's a similar idea. I don't think it's exactly the same idea. I think this is the idea of being aware of the fact that there is an edge to our current grasp. There's always going to be an edge. There's always going to be an edge, because we're not infinite, right? The only thing that doesn't have an edge is God, being infinite, but we're always going to have an edge. Human beings, any created being, is always going to have an edge. So there's the ma'amar. So wherever we happen to be in the current timeline, in our progress of growth, we're always going to have the ma'amar hamidgaleh, or hanigleh, the revealed thing, and there's always going to be the ma'amar satum at the very end, which paradoxically is redemption. Redemption is being aware of the ma'amar satum, of the closed ma'amar that is just inviting. It's inviting for more. Right? So that's why the ma'amar satum, the mem stuma, the closed mem, it comes at the end of the word, even thematically. It comes at the end. The beginning of the word is the mem ptucha. It's the revealed mem, the open mem. It's all understood. At the end of the word, meaning at the end of the message, the end of the message is that.
Does that mean don't worry? There's still more to come, so don't give
Yes,
up. Like, keep
yes,
going.
yes.
A drop in the bucket
Yes.
means that there's infinite drops.
Correct.
Infinite.
That is b'diuk what it's saying, right?
Okay.
It's not ma'amar, right? So to be clear, it's not ma'amar satum. It's not the closed ma'amar in the sense that, okay, there's no, right, stop, turn back now, right? It's not that. No, on the contrary, it's the ma'amar satum, which is revealing the capacity for more.
The excitement of
Meaning,
more,
you could look at it this way: if there was only the mem hamit galeh, if there was only the revealed mem, then that would mean, well, this is all that there is to know. This is all that there is. Yeah, but there isn't. That's not true. It's not the right. There's also the mem stuma. There's also the ma'amar satum, the ta'aluma b'tocha akara.
I want to ask you, this could be totally irrelevant, but I remember hearing once from Soloveitchik, he was talking about like decision making. You could be, say, trying to buy a tie. You could spend an hour trying to go over every detail. Would this match that? During this shirt and that, But he said the very biggest decisions you make in your life, who you're going to marry, what you're going to do for a living, where you're going to live, you make without any deliberation. Somehow it just happens, and it's known to you, but you can't express it. You can't express it so well. You can't articulate it. It would maybe become revealed later on, but you just feel it, you know it, but you don't even deliberate it at all. I don't know. It could be. I don't know if it's rated or not. But I actually heard a video. It reminded me that I heard this video of this girl talking about how she started to become religious, and she decided to drop everything, go to Israel and learn. And her friend said, "Why?" She said, "Why?" She said, "I can't tell you. I just keep going. I bought my ticket. I don't know why. I have nothing to say. I reached the edge of I can't articulate anything. I just know that it's what I'm going to do. Yeah, but it could be. I don't know if it's rated or not, but it's
No, I think it is. I think it is related in that there's a difference between an unknown and a mystery. A mystery is something you recognize it for. It's something, but it's, as you said, it's a something that can't be articulated. That's the difference between an unknown and a mystery. It's like I heard from Rav Wasserman, the Rosh Yeshiva who founded Rosh Sameach. He said that there's a difference between chavui and nistar. In Lashon HaKodesh, there's two words to describe something that's hidden. Right? There's nistar, which is something that it's not. You don't know that it's there. Like someone wearing camouflage in the middle of the woods, you have no idea that's right. But chavui, something that's covered up. You know that something's there. You just can't identify what it is. It's like if someone walks out of the restaurant with something underneath his coat. You know that something's there, but you just don't know what it is because it's covered over. So it's kind of like what you're saying. You know that something's there. That's the idea of the mem suma. I think that also is a good to augment what we were saying before with your comment, Daniel, with how that it's not satum in the sense that it's inaccessible, turn back because you can't get it. No, it's satum in the sense like you know that there's something there. You know that there's something there, but because it's at the edge of consciousness, it can't be articulated. It's not a ma'amar patuach. It's not an open statement. It's still closed.
And then every time you get to that next edge there's another edge of.
Nachon.
There's always a continuum.
It's all relative. I would say it's not relative. It's a subjective experience on wherever the person is. Yeah. So we'll go into the nun. As we said a moment ago, the nun and the mem, or the mem and the nun rather, are very powerful. Is a very powerful expression of oscillating between the klali paradigm of communion and integration and generality, shifting into the prati paradigm of more independence and specificity. So we said that the nun, right, mayim nun, So Rav Kook explained in the primary form of the nun that nun is alluding to fish. Why is it alluding to fish? Because the word nun in Aramaic means fish. And what's the significance of fish in relation to mayim / mem? Because mayim is the general, all-encompassing thing that brings all things together, and the fish represent the little points of life that are contained within the mayim. That's what fish are. They are points of life inside the mayim. So it's the individual that is emerging from the totalizing, incorporating energy of the mayim. I mean, it's not just mayim that is the universal solvent. It disintegrates everything, but no, it brings everything together. At the same time, things are able to maintain their independence. So that was the nun. Now, when we had our last discussion on nun, so we brought the Yerushalmi and Masechah Sanhedrin that gave an insight into the conversation between Moshe and God when Moshe was learning the Torah on Sinai. So it says that for every halacha, this is in the third parak of Sanhedrin in the Yerushalmi, it says that for every law that Moshe was taught, he was given 49 options for every law, meaning 49 ways that it could be permissible and 49 ways that it could be prohibited. 49 ways that it could be impure and 49 ways that it could be pure. So at one point, Moshe said that, listen, can we narrow it down a little bit? This is a lot. It's a lot. Can you just give me the answer? Like, what is it? Is it pure or is it impure? Is it right? Is it mutter or is it asur? So to which God responded, there is no the answer. Meaning, you want the answer. That's not what I'm giving you. I'm not giving you the answer. I'm giving you the system as to how you approach the Torah. The Torah is approached in this system, in this mode of contemplation. Like, these are the tools. These are the tools of how to study Torah. And through these tools, you arrive at a conclusion. And whatever your conclusion is, that is what you do. That's the halacha. That is the answer. The answer is what you produce. So this idea of the mem tes panim lakan, the 49 faces, the 49 facets, the 49 options, right? 49. Also, in the words of the prophets, the idea of 49, the 7 times 7. 7 is like the full spectrum of options. So 7 times 7 is, the full myriad of possibility. That's what that means. Like we see already in Tehillim, mezukak shivatayim. That's something, right? That the word of God, imrot Hashem, imrot Torot, the utterances of God are pure, right? Kesef saruf ba'alila aretz mizukak shivatayim. They can be refined 7 times over, 7 times 7. Yeah, because that every piece of divine inspiration is able to be parsed out to this full spectrum of options, right? The 7 times 7. So that's the idea of the mem tes panim lakan. And the 50th, which is nun, what's the symbolic significance of 50? If mem tet, if 49 symbolizes the full spectrum of options, the 50th represents the harmonizing element, which is in all of them. What does that mean? As the Gemara in Chagiga famously tells us, that a person, when they go into the Beit Midrash, they hear this rabbi says this, that rabbi says that, so there's all these different opinions, and a person can say, well, I guess there's 10, 20 different Torahs, because everyone's saying something else. It says, no, kulam miroa echad nitnu, that they were all given from the same shepherd, all of these different opinions were given from the same shepherd, elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. Both these and these are from the living God. What does that mean? Like everyone's saying the same thing, we should all get along? No, obviously there's very significant arguments in the world of Torah, as we all know, as we're all very well aware. So what does it mean that Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chaim? What it means is, right, the same message that we got from the Yerushalmi and Sanhedrin. There is no such thing as the answer. What it means is that anyone who devotes themselves to Torah and uses the authentic path of Torah to arrive at a conclusion, whatever that conclusion is Torah. That's the definition of Torah. The conclusion reached by someone who is investigating and delving into Torah. That's the definition of Torah. So and with that, there's mem tes panim. There's 49 different faces, meaning there's this wide spectrum, diverse spectrum of possibilities that it could be. So the idea of the 49 is this wide spectrum of diversity, and the 50th is pointing out that all of them are really emanations of this unified thing. They're all authentic emanations of this unified thing. That was the original message of the nun. And the nun sofit in Mansepach comes to augment that ever so slightly. So how does the nun sofit come to augment that? Nun pshuta mora al hayesod hachayim, the simple nun, right? As we pointed out, these osios are called pshutot, right? They're not called the final letter. They're traditionally called otiot pshutot. Why is that? Because their form is simple as opposed to the complex form of the regular forms of the letters. So, for example, the nun that we're talking about now, there's the nun kfufa, the bent over nun, because it's bent. That's how it's written. Yeah. But there's the nun pshuta, which literally means the simple nun, right? The simple nun, which is just a straight line. So pshuta has two connotations. It means pshuta like simple, like pashut, but pshuta also means spread out, like lifshot, to spread something out. So the spread out nun. So it is alluding to Moreh al Yesod HaChaim, on the foundations of life, Shabit Palguto, that when it spreads out, when it branches out, when life branches out, the Hagaluto, and in its becoming more revealed, Humitrabeh benukudot Chaim. It creates many different points of life, Kidigei Ayam, like the fish in the sea. That's what we spoke about in the original Nun. That the fish are like all these points of life in this vast network of life. Umit'alem al yedei ha'agshama litbateh bitui targumi. We spoke about that idea that nun is the Aramaic word for fish, not the Hebrew word for fish. Because again, as we've spoken about it a few times, that the idea of Aramaic is the subconscious or slightly less clear, let's say, the slightly less clear version of Lashon HaKodesh, where Lashon HaKodesh are going to the essence of the thing. In Aramaic, it's speaking about the thing in a subconscious way when things aren't so clear. Why is that? Why is this relevant for this particular letter? Because if we have the mayim, which is this klali energy, this integrating energy where everything comes together, but the points of life, the nun, are the individualistic elements of the individualism bursting out from the collectivism. So it's not fully formed it's not fully formed individualism. It's just it's individualism emerging out of the collectivism. So it's not dag lashon hakodesh, but rather nun in lashon targum. Yeah, that was the point that he mentioned in the original letter of Nun. Aval biyisodo pashut, but how is this augmented in its form of pashut, of either simplicity or being spread out, as we said, meaning this form of the nun pshuta? How is this augmented? Omeidhu me'al kol chaluk v'hagbala nekudatit. It stands beyond any distinction that is created by the different points. V'yoredhu l'chol hama'amakim v'zeh sod pshutato. Pshituto. It goes down to all of the depths, and this is the secret of its spreading out. So the way that I would describe this is that the nun kfufa, the message of the nun kfufa, is looking from top down, meaning you have this central ideal or central theme that can express itself in a wide variety of ways. That's the idea of the mem test. Different facets of Torah, that they're all emanating from the same shepherd. They're all emanating from the same source, right? When a chacham comes and delves into the Torah, he comes out with his particular facet of Torah, and that's his unique expression of Torah. So that's from top down, going like from Torah down through the process of Torah study and emanating out into all the individualistic points. That's the nun kfufa. That's the regular nun. The nun pshuta is looking bottom up. It's from the perspective of, okay, once all the conclusions have been reached, once you have all the mem tespanim, once you have the full spectrum of diversity, understanding in retrospect how they are all connected, how they are all emanating from a singularity, how they are all really connected in one source. That's the nun pshuta. It's like this, right? This single line emanating down that is the connecting and binding force of all the different options. So on the one hand, we have a singularity emanating out to a full spectrum of diversity. That's the nun kfufa. And from another perspective, from the bottom up perspective, we can see and experience how all the different options are all really sourced in a common makor, in a common source.
Yeah. Practically, you look through Shilas and Jewish, they look at someone else's analysis. If they don't agree with it, they don't say, well, that was done in the right way, and that's true. But then they want to get someplace else. So they'll say, but they maybe didn't consider this and this and this and this, and that's why if they had, it would have come to the way I see it now. I mean,
I hear you. I think we can. I think we can just give like a very, very simple. It's not a mundane example, but it's a simple example. Take for example, there's a very well-known machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon in Masechah Shabbos about how to relate to intention when it comes to the prohibitions on Shabbat. So Rabbi Yehuda says that intention is not a factor, meaning even if someone does something unintentionally, it's still considered a malacha. Whereas Rabbi Shimon says, no, if someone doesn't mean to do something, then it's not considered a malacha. Yeah. So both of these perspectives are taking into account that intentionality does in fact matter. How does it matter? Because the action has to be tied to a result. That's the idea of a malacha. It's not like other prohibitions where the prohibition is just a particular action. Right, like don't eat this or don't do that. It's a very particular action. But on Shabbat, the actions are not inherently problematic. They're tied to a result. It has to produce something in the world. That's what a malacha is. A malacha is something that produces something. Yeah. So the intentionality is important when it comes to a malacha on Shabbat. The question is, what is the relationship between my action and the result and my intention? So all of the opinions in this topic, they're all relating to the same fundamentals. Let's say the fundamentals of action, outcome, and intentionality. The question is perspective on how those three elements relate to each other. Yeah. So we could understand from looking at from it, so to speak, from top down, looking at it from the main point that we have to contend with is the relationship between these three elements. And there's different ways of looking at those three elements and the relationship between them. Yeah, and that's the argument. So okay, we have to pick one for halachic, right? For practical purposes, we have to pick one. We have to come to a conclusion because we can't just sit in the theoretical. So we have to choose one. But in the theoretical space, we can understand how they're all emanating from a common conversation.
Which is how two different rabbis can give two different judgment calls for similar cases, same cases.
Two different judgment calls.
Two different.
Yes. Nachon. Nachon. So, Yishar Koach.